Boom. Welcome back to the What Does You Want Think podcast. What's going on, brother? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. It's a beautiful sunny day in Manchester. Oh, you can't really see the curtains are closed, but yeah, we out here.
Yeah, actually, it's lovely here too. I was just saying then before we started pressing record, I was trying to not do any work yesterday, and it's so hard for me to pull myself away sometimes. I went to jiu-jitsu in the morning. Did you see my thing that I posted on Instagram when I was walking in and I ducked the bag out of the way?
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Yeah.
And I tried staying at the house for as long as I possibly could so I can stay on my Mac. And I've woke up today feeling so refreshed and inspired, ready to go. It's so hard for me sometimes to pull away.
I guess you've got lots to do though now, haven't you?
Shit to do, bro. Stuff to do.
What have you been working on the weekends?
Can't really say. Work stuff.
Oh yeah, one of them.
Yeah, one of them ones that I can't really say. But I've been doing some cool stuff still for Bloodline back in the UK. Some exciting stuff happening with all that stuff, bits and bats. Other than that, it's all Pearl Fisher bits, grinding. It's coming sunnier now in New York, so I'm looking forward to the spring before the summer. To be honest, the summer is a little bit too hot, but after last year's.
Yeah, what's the weather like there now? Because I've seen you. It looks like you're running up mountains sometimes in the snow over the past few weeks.
Just depends whatever it's doing. It's like really nice. Like in the mornings, the sun's always hitting in the morning, so I'll always try and get out and get a little bit of that. But then it's still cold. Do you know what I mean? It cuts through you, lad. It's the wind that gets you. What bottle have you got there? Have you got one of them Nova thing bottles?
I don't know what this is.
Sick.
It's one of these. What's that?
Yeah, bro,
I don't know.
The nail gene. I've got mine. Everyone has one in New York, bro.
Is it a thing? This is not even my bottle. This is Shang's bottle. Mine was in the dishwasher, and I was like, "Can I borrow that?"
Sick, bro. I love that, lad. Sick. They're all at jiu-jitsu. They're always lined up on the side. Everyone's stickered up and that.
What's the hype? What's the hype behind them?
I don't know, bro. I honestly don't know. But every brand out here, you always see them in Palace and play. Like everyone always just does collabs with them and that. I don't know. It's just a thing.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, the rise of the water bottle. Because you was on a Chili's one previous, weren't you?
Yeah, I got a couple out here. I've gone through a few, like this little dead one here. The chilies are good. I've got a Bloodline chilies one, so a logo that I did for Bloodline has been engraved onto it, so it's always nice when you.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Stuff.
Anyway, enough about water. We're here to talk about design, and not just design, typography specifically today. Today we've got on Jim Williams. Absolute legend in the game. He created this, which is the Bible. It really is the Bible. I was listening to a podcast on him the other day, and he was talking about the way he designed this was like a notebook, so that it sort of sits on your desk. And when you're thinking about, oh shit, like how would Jim deal with apostrophes or exclamation marks, and you flick back through it, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I do. So I thought that was really interesting because I'd never thought about it being that, but that's exactly what it is. I can actually see Jim waiting.
Nice.
So let's bring him in.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited, bro. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Kristian. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
All right, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, good, man.
Yeah,
good. Love it to hear the accent.
That's good Scouser, you see.
I love it. Is that where you're from originally, Jim? Yeah, you're from Liverpool.
Yeah. I left Liverpool to go and study at Preston.
Yeah, nice.
And then
nice.
From finishing at Preston, went to London and spent 4 years in London. Met the girl that was going to be my wife, and then moved back to Manchester to work for the first 3.5 years at the Chase. And then
I love it. So you proper picked up like different colloquial kind of accents throughout the, you know what I mean? Yeah. When I obviously I'm from Manchester, innit? And you go down to London, and then I don't think I ever lost mine. But like the older you get, I guess it gets a little bit more is formalized a better word to use, Michael, for me? Because I'm like talking off the podcast. Jesus Christ.
Well, it gets watered down a little bit, doesn't it? Because like me and Kristian, just so you know, Jim, me and Kristian were both in London for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we lived with some Spanish people at the time. And I'd tried to speak nice and clean so everybody could understand what I was saying. And Kristian was like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So nobody knew what he was saying. But now that he's in New York, he has to work a little bit harder on that accent, don't you?
Yeah,
so people can understand.
I remember when my first job in London, no one could understand me because I always felt they spoke really quickly.
Yeah.
Of course, being the Scouser, you tend to drawl, so
it
was always a bit
paced out more.
What's he saying?
I love it, Jim. Well, listen, Jim. Welcome to the What Does Your Mum Think podcast. Thank you so much for doing this.
No,
Thank you
for
finding time
for asking.
on a Sunday. Everything, and me and Michael again. We were just talking about the book briefly. Then I'm sure you heard in the background. This was what first give me the first little bit of intel for type. The first. I remember the X-sites came, I remember briefing in typographies now, and I bastardize all the words I'm trying to use, do you know what I mean? So I need to refer back to it even though, so it'll be nice to get into the nitty gritty bits of it, see if I can learn some more bits about type. And
I'll do what I can for you.
Yeah, but just to kick it off, Jim, so me and Kristian both went to UCLan, and you're a bit of a rock star at UCLan, Jim, I'm not going to lie. Andy Bainbridge, he bigs up this book.
Oh, does it?
A lot, yeah, especially to new students. And just as Kristian said, this is always especially those first few years, just sat by me all the time. And it's how do I handle that? How do I handle exclamation marks so they're not hanging over and bits like that? And it really helped me in the early years of my career. And I know that I always now, being more senior, these are the rules that just stick with me. But yeah, as you started then to explain, you was over here, then you were down south, and then you came back up north. What, just to take it all the way back? I know you mentioned you're from Liverpool. So whereabouts did you grow up, and what was life like growing up in Liverpool?
I was pretty much an only child. My brother and sister were both quite a lot older than me. So I grew up in an area of Liverpool called West Derby, which was very close to Liverpool's training ground. So I literally used to be able to see Liverpool training from my bedroom. The only problem is I'm a blue. So
I love it.
Yeah, but my dad was an ambulance driver. My mother was a cleaner, and they're really good people, and helped me get through university. I was the first in my family to go to university. So, and they supported me, and stuff. I was lucky. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise, actually. Maybe, is that the same for you as well, Kristian?
Yeah, well, I think so,
Yeah. So then you're through that journey then. How did you find design? Was you drawn when you was younger?
Yeah.
What was the sort of catalyst?
Well, for me, guys, you won't be surprised to know, but I was always kind of into letter forms.
Oh, was it?
I love it.
Yeah, and I used to just start drawing letters, and believe it or not, I still have my first attempt at trying to draw a black letter alphabet somewhere.
Nice.
Even after all these years, I've still got it. And then it moved on. I found this typeface called Broadway. It was an Art Deco typeface, and I could draw it quite well. But the real thing for me was I was doing A-level tech drawing, and honestly, I was hopeless. I liked the drawing bit. I like using set squares and measuring and stuff like that. But when it came to the maths, God, I was hopeless. I really was. I was absolutely hopeless. But the teacher used to run A-level tech drawing. He also ran a little letterpress workshop in the school. And sometimes I'd see on his desk these little proofs, for tickets and dance tickets and stuff like that. And then that just kind of grabbed my attention straight away. I just, what's that? That interests me. And then my art teacher at school, a chap called John Sankey, he said to me, well, have you thought about graphic design? Well, no. Well, what is graphic design? And I did from school. I went to do a foundation course at Liverpool, but it was quite different then. This is like late 1970s, and you had to do a foundation course to get onto a degree course. You see.
Okay. Yeah.
So I did my foundation at Liverpool, and I applied to Liverpool. I didn't get in at Liverpool, but I got in at Preston, and it was the best thing for me. It was undoubtedly the best thing because I had tutors like Ben Casey and Alan Livingston, and they were into type, so they always kind of encouraged me. So yeah, that's the early, and then finished at Preston. I had my job 4 months before I left. So I went from Plungington Road to Knightsbridge in one fell swoop.
That's a transition, isn't it?
That was quite a transition, that, wasn't it? I tell you what, the first week I was there, I had to open a bank account. So I went into Barclays on the corner, and I said, "Hello, I'm just working. I've just started work around the corner." And the woman said to me, she said, "How was it?" She said, "You're from up north, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm from Liverpool." And she said, "What are you doing down here?" I said, "Well, I've just got a job. I'm working around the corner in an advertising agency just around the corner." So then she said to me, "I thought they were all unemployed up there." So I said, "Well, we aren't, but that's why we come down here and take your jobs. So that's we've got a bit of competition now."
Northern Soul. I love it.
So how was your time at UCLan? Obviously, it's a very ideas-driven course, and you already had this passion for typography.
Yeah.
What was that journey like, navigating your time at university?
Great. Yeah, Ben and Alan, I mean, I am passionate about type, but I'm passionate about type as a vehicle for ideas as well. I'm really into the craft of type and making good type, but also how designers embed ideas in typography, how it's used as a vehicle. Those are kind of the two areas that kind of really interest me. Trying to pass on, this. It was actually my wife who told me to do it, and she said, "You've got to do a book. You've got to do a book." And do you want me to explain how the book came about?
Yeah, please. Before you do, I'd love to know, Jim, like, because you know all these rules and kind of like details about type. How often, or do you ever throw out the rule book and go at it to create something, or just play without? Like,
well, I did. Did you have you seen any of the few bits that I sent to you?
Yeah.
So the spread from the This Is Love book that Glorious did, for the victims of the Manchester bomb.
Yes, Michael, pull that up if you don't mind, Michael.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick.
All right, give me a sec.
Because it must be so wide. Because like when you're doing a project like that, again, if you say you're doing something more conceptually driven and the idea for a thing or whatever is about, I don't know, whatever it is, it's mashing type up, saying it's going against all the rules.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's always an interesting taking it when you've got such a tight approach to something, and then you can just be like, nah.
Well, that's about just keeping an open mind, isn't it? That's what designers should do, is always keep, because you don't know where a good idea is going to come from. And lots of people contribute lots of different things to any one project. So, but this piece, Mike is going to show you, it really breaks all my rules.
Love it. So back in the day, like obviously going through these days, it would have been more like printing presses and stuff like that, right? Aligning type and playing with all the.
No, Kristian, when I went into industry from Preston, it was all photo setting.
All right.
Yeah. So can you see that?
Yeah, nice.
So everything clashes, all the type clashes, because it's about symbolising that fact that how the people of Manchester came together in the aftermath of the bomb. So that's why it all touches. it all touches because it's mirroring that fact. But actually, with the normal conventions, clash is something that we try to avoid.
Yeah, somebody really broke this rule. You'll remember a few years ago. Can you remember Zara, the fashion brand, the high street fashion brand?
Yeah.
It was really, really wide typeset, so it felt, sort of luxury upmarket. And then they crunched it all together, and all the letters were crossing each other.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that they probably went for a similar vibe, like community things coming together. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
I think that the designer who did that has he works in fashion, doesn't he? What's his name? But one of his signature elements of his work is that clashing of type.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, nice. You got it there, Michael?
Yeah, give me a sec.
No, good. But yeah, I wish I got the chance to play with it more a little bit, like in its purest form. I remember when we went that to Paula Scher talk not so long ago, Michael, and she was speaking to the public theatre. And I love Paul's approach where, again, it's like it's very led with type in it and a conceptual kind of like approach with type.
Yeah.
But again, I love how she just kind of throws out the rule book every year. She kind of recreates it to kind of create something more bespoke, I guess,
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could remember his name who did it. But yeah, that's classic of his work. I'll remember it in a minute, but that's one of the signatures of his work, and his use of Dido. Throughout his work, he's used Dido as his principal typeface. So
Dido, I always call it did it. So there's something I've learned. There's the first one.
Well, it's also a unit of measurement, of typographic measurement, Dido.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we all worked to point sizes, but there was a system called, I'm fairly sure it was called Dido. But yeah, what's his name? Oh gosh, not Zafar Baron.
Baron and Baron or something. That's the studio that did it, right?
Yeah, Baron and Baron.
Yeah, it's something Baron. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right then, great. And then from that, sorry to intersect there, but where was we going? We was moving to London, right? And working so you moved there and you worked at the advertising agency, Benton and Bowl.
Yeah, that's right, Kristian. So my first job was with a lady called Maggie Lewis, who at the time was really one of the foremost advertising typographers. She was really, very well respected. She was called the Queen of Type. That was her nickname. Nice. Was the Queen of Type.
Nice.
And I got a job with her literally 4 months from before I actually took the job, and they kept it open for me. So
nice.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah, nice. So back then, I know we spoke a little bit about process then, but what was the process like back then, Jim?
Well, you had to do everything on tracing paper. So you had to do type markups.
Yeah.
But there was none of this like changing a typeface or a point size or anything at will. You had to be 100% accurate. You had to, because every time it went back to a typesetting company, there was a charge incurred. So we would do type markups on tracing paper, actually instructing the typesetter exactly what to do. And it was really good because it's still something I embed in my work now. When I go to the computer, I have a really good idea what I want to achieve. I'll know what typeface I want to use. I'll have an idea of point size and stuff like that. It was about being accurate, and that now we can just change type, style, and point size at will. So that's the way it was. I mean, the three great revolutions obviously was the invention of movable type, metal type.
Mm-hmm.
That was replaced by photo setting, and then photo setting was then replaced by digital.
So, where does Letraset sit into this, Jim? Because I know people used to use Letraset to build ads out.
Yeah, that was to be honest with you, Michael, that was really mostly for like doing little bits of type, nice little bits of type. It wasn't for like setting a headline or doing body text or anything like that. You know, you needed a an actual process to set type. But it was just so different. It was just so different. And actually, the start of the chase. The start of the chase was kind of funded by a typesetting company called the Quick Brown Fox, which Ben was mates with. Ben was mates with all the guys at Quick Brown Fox, and that kind of helped us through the first few years.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so that's interesting. So obviously Ben was your tutor at uni.
Yeah,
actually he was at our uni for, I think the first year was at Kristian, and he'd come in and he'd help us out. Or one year, Jim, I made this Christmas card.
Yeah,
and it was about it was about deforestation. All the Christmas cards made like a big Christmas tree. All the Christmas trees made a big Christmas tree. When you opened it up, it chopped the tops of the trees off, and it was about replanting Christmas trees.
Yeah.
I can't remember how I got this, if it was pulled out of a hat or something. And Ben was like, "Well, that's a bit dark, innit? This is a Christmas card." And he absolutely went in on me, Jim. And he wouldn't leave it be. He wouldn't leave it be. He kept going back and said, "Well, that was better than that idea before." So yeah, I've had one experience with old Ben, and he scorned me.
Yeah, right. No, he's a pussycat. Honestly, he really is.
Was you at the chase with him at the start then, when that started up? And oh, nice. Talk to us about that.
Well, there's nothing really to say, really, apart from we started off actually in the premises of Quick Brown Fox. And then Lionel came on board. Lionel came on board with Ben, and then we moved to Lionel's offices above a job centre in Altrincham. And then QBF moved to Kansas Avenue in Salford, and then we went with them. We went with them to Kansas Avenue, and then I think I stayed there about a year and a half after that. And what the chase did, it was like a catalyst in Manchester. You know, previously Manchester principally had been an advertising city. You know, you had mostly agencies like JWT and stuff like that in Manchester. Yeah. So what happened was, when the chase started to get noticed, some of the London groups started eyeing up Manchester. And then after I'd been there 3.5 years, I got approached to go to Samson Tyrrell. Samson Tyrrell was a big corporate, design company, and they were opening an office that was within JWT. It was all part of the WPP group. Mm-hmm. And I got approached to that, and myself and do you know a lad called Bryn Jones who used to teach advertising at Preston?
I've heard of him. I've heard Andy mention his name.
Bryn and I go back a long way. We all go back a long way. I've known Andy Bainbridge for years as well. You know, I know Tommy really well, and it's all this Preston mafia. You know.
Stays tight. I love it.
And so I went, and I stayed about 9 months. But people were saying to me at the time, you know, isn't it time you did something for yourself?
Yeah.
And then I left, and I really pretty much, apart from really my teaching, I've always really pretty much worked for myself, really, just doing my own stuff.
Yeah, I did see that, Jim, that you was, I think that's where Kristian's going to go now, is that you were freelancing for a period of time, weren't you, or working on your own? What was that like? Was that like a type studio? Was you just freelancing?
Just general graphics, Mike. Just doing,
nice.
I was doing a lot of work for the Creative Circle in London. I was doing quite a bit of work for paper companies, which I always really enjoyed, because paper companies will throw money at print because they have to show, you know, that their paper stands up to what. So I always really enjoyed. I was doing a lot of work for people like Robert Horn, and I did a big project for Sanders and stuff like that. And I love that work. But really, my main client was the Creative Circle in London. I used to do all their books and odd bits of print for them and stuff. It was a bit odd, really. I was in a little studio on Swan Street in the Northern Quarter, and I was doing work for the Creative Circle in London. It's a bit mad, really.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, actually, just building off that, have you seen GF Smith's new rebrand?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Jim?
I don't know. I kind of like the old logo. It was just
yeah. There's a lot of this on, like, when I open up LinkedIn, or I mean, a few weeks back now, and you get so much controversy on both sides. Like Jaguar as well. It's like you see some people love it, some people hate it. It's like Marmite.
Yeah, I never really like to be critical of other designers' work. I never, you don't know what the brief was.
Yeah,
you're not really involved in the process of how it ended up like that. How can you be critical? So, and things have changed so much now in terms of like how logos have to animate and stuff like that. It's a different world, So that obviously that was deemed to be the right solution for GF Smith. And at the end of the day, they're the guys paying the bills, aren't they? They're paying the bill.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? It's like on that exact thing you said, like it definitely takes them more to a digital world. You can see how it's living a lot differently than the previous logo did. I think it's one of them things, and it's a classic thing of like change. And I think when you've got a logo like GF Smith that they did have, where it was, a designer's always going to like a mark like that in it. Do you know what I mean? And when it's like, yeah, it's a funny thing, but I'm the same. Like, if you've got nothing good to say or
Don't
nice
say
to
anything.
say, don't say anything at all. And
Yeah.
it's kind of one of them things. But I think as designers, though, what I will say, we should have an opinion, and that opinion, we should have something to say. We're working as one of the most subjective careers that we could do,
Yeah.
But it's how it's delivered, I think, and if your opinion needs to be heard.
Yeah.
or not,
Well, I mean, if you feel, particularly strong about it, and you're compelled to say something,
then say something.
Yeah.
But, but personally, I'm of the frame of mind that I don't know what was involved. So
that's it. And I'm completely with you on that, Jim.
If you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything.
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're with you, Jim. We're with you
on the board. But but for thing, I did like that old logo as well.
You did,
yeah. And likewise. So going from freelance, then what was that transition to teaching at Stafford?
Well, it was really my mate Bryn. So my mate Bryn had said to me, because I kind of said to him, I wouldn't mind giving teaching a go. And Bryn, he got me into Salford for 8 weeks. I did an 8-week stint at Salford, but then by that time he'd started teaching at Staffordshire. Mm-hmm. So Bryn said, why don't you come and have a look? So I went, and nearly 32 years later, I'm still there.
Is that how long you've been there? Yeah, Jim?
Yeah. I've been there nearly.
I was looking on your LinkedIn, and I think you started there in 1993, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born in 1993. Crazy, you've been doing it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's amazing, Jim. I love that. That's sick. I love it.
Well, it's good. It's I've met some nice people. I've hopefully made a difference for some of the students.
I'm sure you have, Jim. Yeah, definitely. And, that's a long time.
I'm actually retiring in a couple of months, lads.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, congrats, Jim. Yeah. That's amazing. In how many years? Sorry, how many years was that?
I was there nearly 32.
32 years. In 32 years, Jim, what are the biggest transitions you've seen in teaching with the way things have progressed in design?
In design, well, obviously,
yes. So, how have your
the advent of technology and the opportunities that brought?
Yeah, and what did you find that was more of a clutch and help, or did you find that helped? And
well, it certainly helped during COVID.
Well, yeah.
COVID. If we hadn't have had the internet during COVID, the education would have stopped. Mm. And I think, you know, that obviously with the advent of the Mac and stuff like that, you know, lots of people lost their jobs and stuff changes. But if you look back, you know, photo setting did the same. Photo setting kind of replaced a lot of people from metal type. Although what I found was that the people that I worked with when the technology came in, they'd all been in photo setting. So they took that same thinking, that same understanding, you know, across to how they still set type on the Mac. So, but I think it's brought lots of opportunities. It's brought. I tell you, one of the great things I think the technology has done. It's allowed people to work in other places.
Yeah.
And I give you the example of cities like Liverpool. So when Liverpool got the city of culture, designers just flocked to Liverpool because there was work there. There was lots of work, and you know, people were setting up in Liverpool, and there's still, you know, there's agencies like Uniform in Liverpool doing great stuff. You know, big clients, Nike, Post Office, etc. You know, but I'm not sure that if we hadn't have had that shift in technology, that those opportunities might have arose. Really.
Yeah. I guess the approach. I guess where I'm coming from is like, remember when I started uni, and we never. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but we never got taught the programs, innit? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we got taught how to think, you know, Jim, and it was that Andy, again, in the first week briefs when we first got there in our first semesters and stuff, very much pen to paper, you know, like thinking, bringing their thoughts to life, you know, and seeing how they kind of spread conceptually. And I think sometimes what I seen is, you know, the computer became a bit of a crutch. People were going to the computer too quickly, and especially you coming from a very tactile background, fucking definitely getting these working, you know, working your hands and fiddling with little bits of type, and again, sketching a lot more. You've seen a full transition there of like being completely pen to paper to completely Mac to mouse, if that kind of makes sense. And I know students today, or maybe some students today, miss that start bit and just go straight to, unfortunately, sometimes Pinterest.
I'd agree with that, Kristian. I think you know, there is a danger that they avoid that investigation, that thinking that I'm, you know, and as a lecturer, it's really frustrating when they spend 3 hours on a visual. And you say to them, well, couldn't you have spent that 3 hours just thinking about it?
Tapping it, tapping in, 100%, Jim.
You know, and it is a frustration, but it's where we're at, isn't it? So you've got to go with it.
Yeah.
And there's a new step now as well, isn't there? Because like you said, there's pen to paper, there's Mac to mouse, and now you can hit a button with AI and it'll design shit for you.
Put some fucking prompts in and it'll give you something. It'll spit some stuff at you.
Have you ever put your own name into AI and ask it to write a piece about you?
I have. I'm not as famous as you, Jim. I'm not an author yet.
I've seen a couple of people do it. We're working towards it, Jim. I've seen a couple of people play with it. I've seen a couple of people play with like, I'm X person and I'm having a bad day. Make me feel better about, you know what I mean, being this person, and then it comes back and it almost becomes a therapist for you. Do you know? And it reads you up. Very interesting.
What does it say about you, Jim?
Which my computer skills. Oh
no!
Oh, I daren't say, Mike. I'd be too embarrassed. It says it's a Scouser that's done all right.
It's a Scouser.
Well, that's good.
We'll take that. So in between of like being a lecturer and stuff, let's talk about specifically the Type Matters book. How did this come about? So you've been a lecturer for 32 years. Where did the matters book surface.
Right. Okay. So, I was asked to give a talk at a studio in Manchester, and I have to say thank you, Kevin, for this, because Kevin was the guy Kevin Murphy who got me in. He was particularly concerned about the level of or the lack of understanding from young graduates in their typography. So he asked me to come and give a talk to their junior designers about, just simple little tips, little things that you could do each day just to try and improve the quality of your type. And I did that. And when I started back at the university, the course leader then was a lovely lady called Barbara Ridley. And I went to Barbara and said, I'd done this over the summer. It wouldn't take much really to get it ready for print, to do it as a little booklet for the students. And she found the money for it. They found the money for it. So they produced this booklet. And Creative Review picked it up. Creative Review picked it up and did a nice little piece on it. Oh, nice. And I didn't know about this. And I came into work one morning, opened up my emails, and it was flooded with requests from around the world asking for a copy of this little booklet. And Apple contacted me in California, and a whole host. It kind of proves the reach and value of magazines like Creative Review, And one of the many emails was from a publishers in New York, Kristian, called Abrams. And they'd said they'd seen this, and had I considered developing it into a book. And I thought, I had kind of thought about it, because my wife had been saying to me for some time, you should do that. I've got 2 daughters, you see. So my wife was saying to me, well, you should do it just for your daughters. Oh, okay. Not that they're remotely interested in type. And, excuse me. So I started this dialogue, this conversation with Abrams. I had a few telephone conversations with them. And they eventually decided that it wasn't really an area that they knew enough about. And they were going to decline on this occasion. So that kind of gave me the confidence to think, well, actually, maybe there is some merit in this. So then I got a list of about, what I did was look at publishers who I thought would be right for my book. And I had a list of 5 publishers. So I contacted the editors at these 5 publishers. And I got a really good response. They're all saying, wow. It's not just, it's a book about typography. It's a book that tries to make it simple. Yeah. This idea of how do you simply and succinctly explain the jargon of type. And of course, that's why it's also designed like a notebook, so that it gives you that comfort factor. It's like a notebook. And I know I'm digressing here, but one of the joys for me was going into studios and actually seeing it on people's desks.
Yeah, nice.
It's not a lovely coffee table book that's put on a shelf and nobody bothers with for 6 years. It's there on people's desks.
Gets used, yeah.
And the 5, I heard back from the 5. One wanted to make it into a book for InDesign. Well, if you know me, I'm not great on technology. I know about type, but I'm not brilliant on tech. So that was out. I said no to that. I think one of the things I did have was I had a very clear vision. I knew exactly what my book was about and how I wanted it to look, etc. So if I wasn't going to get what I wanted, I sound like a spoiled kid here, but if I wasn't going to get what I wanted, it wasn't going to go ahead. I'd made that decision.
Yeah, right. So nice.
And so I spoke to a few others. One said to me, for example, yeah, we really like the idea, but we're currently doing a book about typography, and we'd like you to write a chapter for the book. So I declined that as well. No. Then someone else said they were also looking at a book to do about typography, but they'd already had accepted something, but they'd like to advise me. They'd like to advise me on the deal that I get from the publisher. And then I heard from Merrill. Merrill contacted me and said, yeah, we'd love to do it. And I think in many respects, that was down to the creative director, a lady called Nicola Bailey. She was the design director at Merrill. And as soon as she saw it, the simple two colours, the moleskin-like binding, the notebook feel, the simple approach, just trying to make it short and succinct. She just got it straight away. And Merrill offered me a deal. And then 12 years later, it's in 3 languages. It's in its 5th printing. It's currently in its 5th printing. So, yeah, it's done okay.
Oh, I love that, Jim. Nice.
Yeah.
I was just saying to Kristian that I'd listened to you did a podcast with, was it a guy called Brian
Dowdy,
last year?
Yeah.
That was it, yeah. Who I think was one of your students.
Yeah.
And he was expressing to him exactly that it is like a notebook.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was really interesting because I'd never put 2 and 2 together. Like you just said then, the moleskin sort of cover, like the little bind on it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it is exactly that. And like you said, that's why it's always on people's desks. It is like a tool. Like you pick it up and you go, oh, well, how would Type Matters tell me to handle this?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that you can just pick up and grab, and you can open one page, get the answer you need, close it, and use it like that. It's great, Jim.
Yeah. So it kind of proves good Preston thinking, lads.
Yeah.
It's one of the few, like, there's so many books you get over the years, especially as a student, that are led like this to learn from, and there's not many that you read cover to cover, and Type Matters is one of the ones that I did actually read cover to cover, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And go back to regularly because of, again, the way it is structured.
Yeah.
Kind of like with the way Smile in the Mind is for ideas.
Yeah.
Like Type Matters, the book for typography.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I love the comparison, honestly. Thank
you. Do you know?
Yeah.
They're the two.
Yeah.
What about the design of it as well, Jim? Like, where did you get this? Because it feels very Swiss, doesn't it? Like,
yeah. Well,
the black and red.
Well, it was everything. I wrote it, designed it, everything. I provided a complete package to Merrill, and then Merrill did the publishing bit with it, and they were great. Honestly, they just got it straight away. They just understood it, what I was trying to do. Because honestly, there are some fantastic books on type. There really are, but they they sometimes can be a bit like they're talking to people who already know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, a lot of Type Matters was in a way was kind of based on my experiences as a tutor at Stoke, kind of just trying to convince them that not to be scared of it. Yes, it's laden with jargon. All you have to do is just understand what those terms mean, and you'd be fine. You'd be fine.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I find the same with like Type Foundries a little bit. When like looking for typography for projects and stuff like that, you'll go on some and like not mention any, just generically speaking, so to say, and you'll click on one and it's just like loads of A to Z's just typed out, and you scroll through and it's hard to see the wood for the trees,
Yeah.
And a Type Foundry called Studio Drama that are doing great things at the minute, working with JKR and stuff like, doing amazing work. The way they kind of like show their typography and show the work that they've done is in context with the work that's been done, and use the typeface. So it makes it a little bit more kind of like digestible and understand the power of type in its purest form, so to say. I think it is very intimidating. Like even when I'm briefing a typographer to working with typographers now at the minute on a project at Pearl Fisher, and I am really conscious of like the words I'm using. If I'm right, the X height of this, should I be saying the ascender of that? I'm just like, no, that top bar there. Do you know what I mean? Can we just squash that bit there? And obviously a typographer is not going to expect me to start running my mouth and using the complete perfect articulation of these things. But like what you're saying, Jimmy,
yeah.
Well, yeah. I used to have stuff like, do you know, in my uni halls and stuff, like bits of, like dissect the word. But it makes it a little bit kind of like easier to have a conversation around. You know what I mean? And still be a part of the conversation instead of alienating that person, just in case they don't know the right kind of.
When I was actually working on the book, sometimes I'd find different terms for the same thing.
Yeah, interesting.
So, to give you an example, like hanging punctuation, where you hang outside the measure, I heard that referred to as shouldering. Some people called it shouldering.
Interesting, nice.
So that can add to the confusion, isn't it? You can have different terms for the same thing.
And this is quite a good point. Who taught you, Jim? Right, because essentially you taught me. So like I follow these rules, like the way like thinking about like widows and orphans and rivers and like when to use dashes and. Like you don't really use you don't really hyphenate sentences.
I try to avoid hyphenation because that's what I was taught to do.
Yeah, so me too. Because I was taught that through your book. But when I picked up, I think it was one of Eric Spiekerman's books, and everything was hyphenated. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? Like, so where did you learn typography?
Was it English, Mike, or was it the German edition?
Yeah, it was English.
Okay, because generally, as a rule, I don't think, because the length of some of the words in German, it makes it really difficult not to actually hyphenate. But it's, I always think really that as creative people, we are really shaped by the people we work with after we graduate. So my first job was with the Queen of Type, a lady called Maggie Lewis. And then I went to a small studio called the Bullpen, Steve Leagate. He taught me. But from there, I then went to CDP. Have you heard of an agency called CDP? Collett Dickinson Pierce. So they did all the famous Benson and Hedges adverts, where you see the pyramids and one of the pyramids is a Benson and Hedges pack. All them really surreal ads. And I worked there with a guy called Len Cheeseman, and they taught me. So, I'm just passing on what, and Ben and Alan and Lionel, working with Lionel as well at the Chase. But Lionel's absolutely brilliant typographer. Really is.
It's so interesting because you could typeset something and somebody might put like a long sentence and a short sentence, and then to me, and I think from reading your book, I'm like, well, that looks like it's going to fall over now because it's too heavy on top. But then other people have their own rules. But yeah, obviously, it's just so interesting. Like you said, people learn different ways of working and different styles and so on. But yeah, it's just so interesting that. Yeah, like this is my Bible of typography.
Yeah. I think what's interesting as well, what you said then, Jim, is like not just speaking specific to type, but specifically speaking to students just coming out and graduating. I think that first job is so important.
Yeah,
because it does really it shapes you. It forms you to what. It was the same for me. I started my career at Turner Duckworth, very ideas led, very smart in the mind led, and I'm still that designer today.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Well, I saw the card you did for Andy, so it was quite a nice little idea the way you dropped the ampersand.
Love it, live for it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I love that stuff. But yeah, again, coming from Andrew Bainbridge's thinking, do you know what I'm saying? And then getting to it's the same. My introduction to the idea thing was like seeing Smile in the Mind, this kind of like discoverable moment thing, and then the feeling I got from that was like I just went on this discovery of more like what else is there, what I've not seen yet. Do you know what I mean? That's really interesting. On like other kind of like typographers, do you have favorite typographers? And people you look towards?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, but I like typographers and designers that put ideas into type. So Herb Luberlin is just the master of ideas. That mother and child logo, just
killer.
Just first thing that comes to my brain. To mention his name, one of the first bits.
Just drops you, doesn't it? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
And then there's a few others. Bradbury Thompson. Have you heard of a designer called Bradbury Thompson?
Rings a bell.
Right. Bradbury Thompson puts. He did this spread, and it was about greyhound racing. And the way he set the type, you have to actually turn the magazine to read it, and then around the edge he placed greyhounds, so it actually looks like the greyhounds are running, and it's just like, wow. We're just so. And I do actually like some of Vince Frost's early work. Some of his work for Fourth Estate, really ideas driven, led for typography, and but I'd say for me it's the master is Herb Luberlin or Luberlin or Lubalin, or there's all kinds of different ways to pronounce it, isn't there? How would they say it in New York, Kristian?
Lubalin.
Herb Lubalin. Herb Lubalin. Lubalin. He did that. I always remember the beautiful type. Speaking of New York, the beautiful typeset thing he did for it. Was it his address or something for New York or something? I remember it saying New York in it. Let me have a look. It was his address, weren't it?
For his studio.
20. Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous. Really nice. Love it.
There's been quite a lot of books recently done on Luberlin, and I've got all of them. you won't be surprised to know.
I love it. Yeah. The beard stuff he did as well, that bit of Tyler. The beard, killer. And the family's logo, for days. You are right, it's that beautiful balance of type and ideas for you. I can see it, amazing. That's great. So like going forward, what else matters, Jim? What else matters other than type? What else matters?
Well, ideas matter, don't they? Ideas matter.
I think we hit it, didn't we?
Ideas matter, don't they? And stuff.
If what is, I'm never going to be able to remember every typographic rule. Do you know what I'm saying? I try to remember as many as I possibly can. What would be your top, I want to say 3, but I don't want to overwhelm it. So what would be your top rule to not ignore with type, to leave us with?
Well, gosh, you really put me on the spot now, haven't you?
Sure. I thought Michael might have prompted it.
Perhaps the rule is read type matters.
That's what we just said this right at the start, Jim. Yeah. Kristian said, I'm going to ask Jim this question to Jim at the end, but what's his answer going to be? And I said he's going to say read type matters. So on that note, Jim, where can people buy Type Matters?
Well, the best place is on Amazon, I guess. I'd prefer it if you went into a bookshop and bought it in a bookshop, because I'd like to keep bookshops open. Nice. But yeah, guys, honestly, it's 12 years now since it was published. It's, as I say, it's 3 languages, 5 print runs of it. It does okay. In fact, when Merrill first published it, they didn't think it would go to any other language. Mm-hmm. And they have these big book fairs in Germany, and they're a book fair. I think it was Frankfurt Book Fair. And someone bought it straight away as soon as they saw it and did a German edition. Yeah. And it was actually quite funny, actually, because the people who bought, the German publisher that bought it, were one of the publishers that I approached, because they have a history of publishing type books. Mm. So I approached them, and then again, you get that initial interest, and then they come back and say, "Oh, we're not sure about this," but they had the chance to publish it the first time, and then they chose not to do it. But when they saw the completed book, they then bought it. So
when it got translated to German, I know we spoke about this briefly before, but did you keep a close eye to what was going on with the typesetting with it? Did you have a say in all that?
No, really, because it's a completely different language. And
was it a German typographer doing it though?
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, and of course why the German one is so good is because they adapted it to the language. So they didn't just translate it; they looked at the points that I was making, and then they rewrote it to illustrate. So, say for example, you're talking about shape. You're talking about shape on a headline, where ideally you want long, short, long, or short, long, short.
Yeah.
So what they did was they rewrote it to achieve that in German, as an example. And I think the Dutch one is currently out of print at the moment. So I don't know why, but yeah.
English, German, and Dutch? Yeah.
English, German, and Dutch. Yeah. Editions.
I was going to say it's a good job you didn't have to do it, Jim, because if they want to do one in Arabic or Chinese, then you've got your retirement cut out for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I tell you what, honestly, they I still, even 12 years later, I still get lots of emails. I still get people contacting me from all around the world. I've had professors in America, of like Stanford and in universities like that, some of the major, I've heard from them saying they've seen it in the library and thank you for writing it and stuff. And the last email I got was from a titler, a chap who lived in Saudi. And what he does, for like television, where you have the voice and then it translates on the screen underneath and to say exactly what he's saying. And he, as a result of doing that, he'd become more interested in type, and then bought my book and read it and then contacted me. It's been brilliant, guys. Honestly, it's been brilliant.
If you was going to do it all again, Jim, if anything, what would you tell yourself back then?
What would I tell myself?
Because you've had a successful career, and congratulations on all your successes. You know what I mean, Jim, and the book successes, and like you said before about inspired. I mean, it's a countless amount of people that you've inspired throughout your time lecturing. So if you was again setting out just before you met Ben Casey, maybe sat in university again, what would you tell yourself?
That everything will be okay.
Everything will be okay.
Just stick to what you know.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Just type.
Well, just type and ideas, really. Because let's be honest, you can wreck a good idea with really bad typography. You can't make a good idea good with good type, but you can certainly make a good idea work. With bad type, unless the idea is that it should be bad type.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
but
that's amazing.
It's just I always think to myself, very fortunate, really. Going from studying at Preston with the people I had teaching me, and obviously that all continues today. Yeah, with Andy and Pete and John and stuff, that all continues today. That. And then obviously the people I worked with and stuff, and it's the people you work with that really, as you progress through your career, are your biggest influence.
Yeah,
who you work with and what you learn from them. I always try to say to the students, all right, you might not like someone, but the way you need to look at it is, what can I learn from you? What can I learn? And sometimes it sinks in and sometimes it doesn't. You know. So.
I think sometimes you just need the first-hand experience for the penny to drop.
Yeah.
I think what I found, Jim, I've just done a talk at the the conference, UK
Yeah.
conference. I think I've just done obviously I can imagine,
Yeah.
And like even doing that, I had penny drop moments for what Andy was shouting at me fucking 10 years ago at uni. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to marinate and just putting them things out there, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's what Jim said. It might take 5 days, it might take 5 years, it might take whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's in there, innit? You know.
Yeah.
Your subconscious takes over a little bit.
Newcomers or Preston was just a brilliant start for everyone, I think. You know? And I'll tell you what's nice about it is I still feel I feel like I'm a member of a club. That I studied at Preston. I'm still in touch with all my mates. I graduated in 1982. So I started there 78 to 82. And I'm still in touch with all my mates. They're all around the world. You know, they're all in different places around the world. They've all gone, like you, Kristian, they've gone to other countries to work and stuff. But we're still all in touch. And then I don't know if you know, but I'm the external at Preston at the moment, so going back there, to see them, to see John and the guys again, and just show the work that and it's just like it's still all there, guys. It's still all there. That single-handed, devotion to the idea. What is the idea? And stuff, and it's still there, and it's still a great course. Still a great course. And you two, of course, you two are products of it as well. So.
Yeah, again, everything you're saying, Jim, we can echo. Like, we're both very proud to have come from Preston and be disciples of Andy Bainbridge. He's like amazing. Well, great, Jim. Right, we won't want to take any more time on a Sunday.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Guys, honestly, it's been lovely chatting with you. I've really enjoyed it.
Honestly, nice Jim, thank you so much.
Listen, and thanks for pushing me book.
Listen, enjoy retirement.
I will.
I can't, that's amazing, Jim. Do you know what I mean? Again, and buy the book. I'm sure Michael's going to put a link up at the end and stuff like that. We'll make sure we flood it out there.
Yeah.
Type matters, Jim Williams, everybody. Thank you.
It does. Do you want to know why it's relevant? There's three reasons why I called it Type Matters. Okay, so one, obviously, type does matter. We're visual communicators. You know, the most basic element of any designer's palette is letter forms. So you have to be confident with dealing with type. The second one was obviously that it deals with matters of typography. But the third thing was, I remembered when I was, work in my agency days, and you'd get a delivery of typesetting. Quite often it was referred to as type matter.
Right, okay, yeah.
So for me, I started off on this idea of good housekeeping. I was thinking, good housekeeping for type. And then I just remembered that thing about type matter. Yeah, I think type matters. It's short and sweet and easy to remember. So
yeah, it's perfect.
Strong idea.
Yeah,
always comes back to ideas and type. That's all it is, Jim.
If you look at the layouts, some of the layouts have got little ideas in, like the bibliography mirrors a bookshelf, and stuff. So
they don't go. Trust me, Jim. They don't go missed.
No,
I'm constantly,
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
Well,
amazing.
Honestly, guys, it's been a real pleasure, and I wish you all the best. And
thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Yeah.
And I look forward to sending this to Andrew Bainbridge as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's listening. So big up, Andy.
Yeah. Okay. All right,
Thank
guys.
you, Jim, so much. I appreciate you.
Take care, both. Cheers.
Thank you.
See you later, Jim.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks. You're good. Oh, bless. This
Class.
is so good. Like again, same. Again, I know I've probably said it on at the end of every podcast, but I love doing this, Michael. That was really cool. I remember I didn't want to say them, but I think he was the external supervisor, whatever the formal word is. When I was in uni, I remember being sat in a room with him once that they were checking that we was doing things. I don't know what it is, but I remember meeting him years ago. But you probably know.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met him before, and it's so interesting in it is that I've took his methodology and ideas for all these years, and I just get to say, nice one, Jim, today.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, listen, we didn't plug it at the start. We'll plug it now. Please like, share, subscribe, share and like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff. Help us help you. Comment, like, leave us stuff, interact with us, talk to us. In it.
Yeah, and if you get yourselves on this thing. I know we were joking about it. Well, it wasn't really a joke. It was half and half, but it would be good to do portfolio reviews. I don't know. I just want to speak to so many people that like Jim just said. Then you can learn something from absolutely anybody, anybody.
Right, listen. I really need the toilet, bro. I love you. What does your mum think? Season 2 in full. Yeah, love you, bro.
Over and out.